Hello, I'm Adam J. Morgan and welcome to Late Night Ghost Stories. Today we have a very special guest, Francesca Way, who's actually a witch. Evening to you, Francesca.
Hi.
How are you doing? How's today been for you?
I'm good, thanks. It's been a very busy day. I've done quite a few readings, but yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about, for those that are listening that don't really know about tarot card readings, how does it all work?
Well, it's a moment for you to find some clarity, really. You can come to me and ask a question, and the more specific the question is, the better. And the tarot will sort of like reflect an answer to your question. So it's a sort of moment where you can find some clarity, you can get some intuitive insights, and also spiritual guidance too. So it's quite helpful if you're looking to get more in alignment, I would say.
How did you ever get into this? Is it something you've felt from a young age, or something you wanted to develop when you got older?
Yes, so from a really young age, my mum used to drive me into the centre of town, and she would actually take me into her tarot readings with her. So obviously I had no clue what was going on, but it sort of helped to sort of shape me into having a bit more of an open mind about all of this stuff. And then in later years I sort of, I just felt very comfortable around the tarot and around psychic readings. And I was always curious myself, so I think that made quite an impact, an impression on me as a young child.
So how does it work? If someone comes in, how does it work? Do they sit down and you can instantly pick up something, or do you use the cards to help you? Because you were saying to me the other day that you're also a bit psychic without the cards.
I could technically do a reading without cards, but I really love the cards because I'm quite highly sensitive, so I pick up on lots of different types of information. So it will be like energy, there'll be a bit of telepathy, and yes, some psychic ability as well, so clairvoyance. So there'll be all these things I'll be picking up on someone, and it's not something I'm like completely conscious of, but I'll just know, I'll just have like an inner knowing. And what the tarot does for me as a highly sensitive person is it helps to ground the reading and help me actually tell a story whilst using this information. Otherwise sometimes I can feel quite like overwhelmed with lots of sort of psychic noise, shall we say.
Do you ever do like group readings as well, or is that too difficult?
For me, I find that a bit too overwhelming, but I know there's lots of like sort of platform mediums, for example, they'll be doing readings and channeling grandmothers in front of like, you know, hundreds of people. That's not me at all. I'm highly sensitive, so one person at a time is enough. And this is why I have like private one-to-one sessions, so that other people don't interfere with the reading.
It's an interesting thought, actually. I was thinking this on the way in today. How do you switch off? So if you're saying you're highly sensitive, so you do readings all day, then you go home, I'm assuming. How do you switch off at night? Do you get messages coming from beyond the grave, or psychic?
I've learned over time just to sort of switch off, and that will be like just completely focusing on myself, my own needs, and like switching off from the readings. I'm really lucky because I also have a terrible memory. Right. That's why I advertise that this is strictly confidential. I won't remember anyone's readings afterwards.
Oh, fantastic. I was just thinking about you time on an evening when you're watching Netflix and all of a sudden you've got a spirit tapping you on the shoulder trying to pass a message on to someone. And can you tell us how the cards work? Because I know a little bit, but then that's stuff I've seen in the movies and stuff. How do the cards actually work?
Okay, well this is like, it's a very long ongoing thing, and I've been learning the tarot for the past like 10 years. So
wow,
it's
10 years.
Yeah, it's a long it's a long journey with tarot, but it tells a story. So it starts off at the Fool, and then the Fool goes on their journey, and so each card reflects a certain moment of the Fool's journey, and then it ends back at the Fool card again. So the Fool actually starts off quite naive, but then all of these life experiences happen to him.
Right.
And that's, each card is one of those moments. And so it then ends with the Fool again, and that's the Fool Omega. So he's gone on this whole journey, had all of these experiences, but the Fool is all about new beginnings. It's about like stepping into the unknown, carpe diem, and being led by your heart without, anything holding you back. And the beauty of the Fool when he goes Omega, or when they go Omega, because we want to be inclusive, is that they go on this big long journey in life, but then they come back to the beginning, and they're not letting any of that like hold them back from being the Fool.
When you do a reading, what are people's reactions like? Is it? I'm guessing it's a mix of emotions. Some people get upset with the messages and the story.
Yeah, I've had quite an uplifting day, so it's been quite like some much lighter readings, but I tend to deal with a lot of clients who are going through what we call like the dark night of the soul. So there's like this moment in life that people experience where we call it, like Jung calls it the like shadow aspect of oneself. It becomes very apparent, and that can be because there's like a big life change, and things as they know it just sort of throw them off course, and that can bring out this sort of dark night of the soul. And it's basically parts of the ego and parts of one's consciousness that haven't been quite integrated yet, and these are all like parts of ourselves that we repress because we feel like they're parts of ourselves that are unlovable, which is not true, because in the eyes of the universe we're all perfect. So the dark night of the soul can be quite upsetting for people, and they can be in quite dark places. So when they come for a reading, it can be quite an emotional experience. So a lot of it is about holding space for one to be able to express us.
I'm guessing people that come through the door are a mix of people. Some people coming along because they're curious to see how it all works. Some people that they're maybe going through a really bad patch and they need some guidance. What's the main kind of customer client that you get?
That's really hard to say, because I feel like sometimes there's synchronicities, like Dark Night of the Soul, a few people, and that has been the case recently, where they've been going through some really difficult times. But I would say the general consensus would be that people are coming here because they're at a crossroads, and they're needing some guidance because they don't know what path to take.
Yeah.
There's like several paths, and it's not quite clear which one they should go down. And then after they've had a reading with me, they feel a lot more in alignment, a lot clearer about which path that they should take. And usually it seems to me that there is like one main path that one should take, and that's about following your true will.
I personally had an experience, actually. I saw a psychic medium maybe 14 or 15 years ago, and I wasn't expecting much. I did it because people in work were saying they had gone to see this person at I think like a live event or an open evening, psychic evening, and so I booked the gentleman thinking, I'm not too sure, but the stuff he was saying to me, you just couldn't possibly know. There's no way. It wasn't like cold reading, as they say, where they just say stuff that's going to link to anyone. It was actually really strange stuff, and I was looking at him in disbelief, thinking, how do you know this stuff? And I went, before he even arrived, I took all the pictures down on the wall, so there wasn't any pictures of my brothers or sisters, so he could use, you've got a brother, and so he knew nothing, and yet everything he was saying, I'd say 95%, but maybe 45 minutes of talking was absolutely spot on. Wow. And he left, and I remember going up and I was shaking.
Wow.
I was actually physically shaking where it was so accurate, and I thought, shit, it is actually real.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably a load of bogus ones out there, and it's trying to separate the fact from fiction, like most things in life. People would exploit people when they're vulnerable.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's like, for them it's about power and money, which is not what this stuff is about, really. I think the authentic ones, like myself, are just looking to help people, and that's enough to get out of that for me. Being able to hold space for someone who, everyone's busy in the day. They don't have time to like sit and like support you, and it's not because they don't want to, it's just because where is the time in the day? We all lead quite busy lives. So for them to just like book a session, and just for someone to hold space for them, and to actually like see them, and to be able to like give them messages to help them find more alignment, it's incredibly comforting. So yeah, it's a sense of like healing, and I think that's really important. and I don't think there's enough environments like this. And I think it's really important for people's well-being to be able to have this space. And I've had some freaky things happen to me myself because I've been in environments like this. I've been working in esoteric shops for the past 11 years, not just as a reader. I started off like working at the desk whilst like trying to start up my healing business at home, and I was really young when all of this happened to me, so I was like in my early 20s. But I had someone come in, she had no idea who I was, and she was like, "Oh, it's funny, you just start channeling when you're in a place like this. Who's Annabelle?" And I was like, "Get out."
What?
And I pointed at the door, because Annabelle is my best friend since I was 5 years old.
Wow.
How did she know that?
How did that make you feel?
I was completely shocked. Also, there was a little bit of a violation of boundaries, because I don't think it's right for somebody to just start channeling someone without their consent.
Yeah.
So just because you've got this gift, it doesn't mean you should be going around,
You could
giving
create
messages.
all sorts of problems, couldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And there's been a few things that have happened to various family members and things like that, where like there's been a psychic in a car park saying, "Oh, your ex is about to be in a car crash," and it's not happened, but it's freaked them out.
Yeah.
Especially because there's like, people giving good helpful messages when you've like had a session with them and paid for a session, or like have put boundaries around a session where it's like, we're going to spend an hour together where we're going to have this conversation. For then that to happen, it feels like I don't know, it tars everything with the same brush in a way. It gives people that are trying to do good in the world. I sound so cheesy, but
I was going to ask you, actually, that's a good question to ask you. How does it make you feel as a person knowing you've got that gift? Is it rewarding? Do you feel purpose in life? Because personally, I would love it. I would be, if I could do that and pick up on people's feelings and see spirit, or, again, that's another question I'll save for later, but how does it feel?
This is the most rewarding job I have ever had, and I'm reluctant to even call it a job. It just feels like a bit of a mission, because it just really helps people. And I've had it to me. I've had my own sessions, and I felt so. I felt like I've been given a big warm hug by the universe, and I feel like that's what everyone's looking for.
Yeah, I can tell as well you're a very, very positive person, just the way you sort of talk.
So a bit about me is, when I left university, I went through the dark night of the soul. So I feel like we're all conditioned to be part of this cult, which is the cult of family. And when we get to a certain age and we leave home and we leave this cult, we have to decondition ourselves, because we often go, "What, your family didn't do that? What, my family did? I always thought that was normal, And I didn't have like a very abusive upbringing. It's just that my family did and believed in things in a certain way, and there's all this ancestral trauma, all this heavy stuff. And so when I got to university, I was like, right, I'm an adult and I'm carrying all this baggage with me, and I'm really confused, and I've just left university. What choices am I supposed to make in life? I have no idea who I am. So I then went through the dark night of the soul, and I was searching for answers to try and help me piece things together. I was just looking for any kind of answer. And so within that, I then had what I sort of know now as like a consciousness change. And that was like in the middle of the night, after like being completely depressed for 6 months, I sort of broke through, and that was how it felt. I felt like I'd broken through this depression, and I felt this sense of like complete bliss and oneness with the universe, trust, faith, and that I was being like looked after, and that everything was like supposed to be exactly where it was supposed to be. And so I stayed up all night, and I was just in this feeling of like bliss, and that changed my life. And it was just some weird reaction that I had, and I was doing all of the things like dabbling in tarot.
Wow.
I was like doing yoga, I took acid for the first time and had this experience, but all of that integrated and like sort of alchemized for me to then months later just have this sort of implosion and I broke through. So my crown chakra, I feel like just opened up, and like I all of a sudden started getting all of these messages come through in meditations. Like I knew, I'm not going to say who it is, but I knew that this person was pregnant, and I knew the moment that they conceived, and then 2 weeks later they actually then came out and told everyone, but I had already told someone because it had come through. So then I was like, boundaries, learn about boundaries. It's really important that we're not just like spreading these messages, that we, you know, keeping our own counsel, you know, it's really important. So then I started seeing people started coming to me before I was going to sleep. So I would close my eyes and then people would come through my mind's eye, and just like they were smiling at me.
Oh gosh.
And
was that terrifying, or is that positive?
They were sort of responding to me, and I was a bit freaked out, and I just opened up my eyes and nothing was there, obviously. But I was quite overwhelmed. But it was just a thing, and I just sort of became used to seeing these entities, I guess, and this just continued. So then it's become a lot brighter and a lot clearer, and I'm a lot more in control of it now, which is really helpful, but it was quite overwhelming at the beginning.
I can imagine, wow. I guess what I wanted to sort of mention is the amazing location we're in today, the Haunted Bookshop in Stokes Croft. Can you talk to people about it, what they can come along and have a reading when you do your readings? We're going to do a bit of shameless plugging now.
Thank you. It's really helpful. I need to plug my readings as much as possible. Well, it's not just about me. We work as part of a community here. It's at the Haunted Bookshop in Stokes Croft. It's run by Monica Killer, who is a book legend and a witch, and she has given us all this amazing opportunity to come and read in her basement. So it's me, Rara Tarot as well, Rachel, she does amazing tarot readings here on the weekends. There's also Liz, who's Jupiter Oak Tarot, who's a good friend of mine as well. She does tarot and tea leaf readings. We've got Ruby, we've got two Rubies actually. One is a masseuse, and one is a tattooist who can tattoo your astrological chart on your body, I believe.
Wow.
And there's also Saskia, who works on the shop floor as well. She's upstairs at the moment holding fort. But yeah, we all work as part of a community, and we're all here on our mission. A bit of a cosmic mission.
I love it. As soon as I walked in through the door, I've never seen anything like it in my life. Oh. And the smells of like the incense burning, it was just, wow, what amazing. And it was like a really warm, positive feeling when I come in. I'm not psychic, by the way, but it just, you know, you were very smiley, and your colleague Saskia, she was very smiley. Loads of different books you sell as well here, and candles. What's the candles all about? It's for spells. So would I be able to take a candle home and cast a spell to win the lottery?
Yes, so I would recommend a green candle for that. That's right. Candle magic. But we have all sorts of candles here, because believe it or not, different candles for different purposes.
Do they actually work? Do they actually work, the candles? So how, if I bought a candle, what kind of thing do people do with the candles?
So to win the lottery, a lot of people would, I would say it's like a sort of like a beginner's Wiccan ritual you could do is like get a green candle, get some citrine, make a sigil of like a pentagram or like something that resonates with you, and you could go into a meditation and set up a little ritual for yourself, and call in. It's such an individual practice for everyone, but you could like call in like a spirit to help you bring more money into your life, or to help you win the lottery. But it's such a witchcraft isn't like a one-size-fits-all thing. It's like such a broad subject, and the more you delve into it, the more you can uncover, and that's why it's so beautiful. So you'll never get like two witches with exactly the same practice. It will be very different to them. So, but that's like a general thing that you could do, and yes, they always somehow work. because even if you don't, I have an animist perspective on things, so I believe that everything is living, like even inanimate objects. But if you wanted to just look at it from a psychological perspective, it could just be that you're setting the intention to yourself that you're going to win the lottery, which is like a form of hypnosis. So it works.
You never know. So when are you next in the shop doing your readings?
This Sunday from 11 to 6.
So it's mainly Sundays and Mondays, isn't it?
Yeah, mostly Mondays at the moment, yeah.
Fantastic. And you're always busy, from what you were telling me earlier. Draining your energies. Draining. But it's been lovely talking to you, Francesca. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it.
And if anyone wants to come and visit, it's the Haunted Bookshop, and it's in Stokes Croft in Bristol.
Hey.
You've got to come along.